In the grim theater of the Second World War, amidst the deafening roar of conflict that spanned continents, countless stories of strategy, error, and last-minute redemption were forged in the crucible of battle. Today, we delve into one such tale, a lesser-known but powerful narrative from the Italian front. It's the story of General Rossi, a man whose sharp eye and courage to admit a colossal mistake may have turned the tide of a crucial engagement, and in doing so, saved countless lives. Imagine the scene: the Italian countryside, scarred and torn by the relentless machinery of war. The air is thick with the smell of cordite and damp earth. Distant artillery thunders, a constant, menacing drumbeat. In a dimly lit command tent, far from the polished halls of Rome, General Lorenzo Rossi hunches over a collection of maps. The flickering lamplight carves deep shadows on his face, a face etched with the weariness of a man who carries the weight of thousands of lives on his shoulders. He is a veteran commander, known for his methodical approach, but tonight, a gnawing sense of unease keeps him from his cot. Something is wrong. Let's rewind just a few days. High Command had issued orders for a major offensive. The objective was clear: dislodge the Allied forces from a heavily fortified ridge that dominated the surrounding valley. General Rossi's artillery corps, the pride of his division, was tasked with softening up the enemy positions before the infantry assault. We see flashbacks of his men, moving with a disciplined purpose, hauling the heavy guns into place. Cannoneers sight their targets. Loaders stand ready, the very picture of military readiness. Yet, even in these moments of preparation, a subtle tension hangs in the air. The calculations were checked and double-checked. The coordinates confirmed. Everything seemed perfect. Almost too perfect. The initial bombardment began at dawn. For hours, the Italian guns roared, sending shell after shell screaming towards the designated coordinates. The sound was immense, a man-made earthquake designed to break the enemy's will. Rossi received reports from his forward observers. Heavy fire on target, enemy positions under sustained bombardment. On paper, the operation was proceeding exactly as planned, but the general's instincts, honed by decades of service, told him a different story. The Allied return fire, though sporadic, was surprisingly accurate, and his own infantry, poised to advance, were reporting stiffer resistance than anticipated. The math said he was winning, but the battle told him he was losing. Back in his tent, the general's fingers trace the contour lines on his map. He reviews the targeting data, the reconnaissance photos, the intelligence reports. It's a sea of information he has navigated 1,000 times before. He considers the terrain, the slight elevation changes, the way shadows fall at dawn. He thinks about the new, longer-range cannons the Allies were rumored to possess. He pores over the initial survey data provided by the engineering corps, and then he sees it. A single, almost imperceptible notation on an old survey map. A slight discrepancy in the magnetic declination reading for that specific sector. It was an easy error to make, a tiny miscalculation of just a few degrees. But over the distance, his artillery was firing. A few degrees meant his shells were landing hundreds of meters wide of their intended targets. They weren't softening up the enemy's main defensive line. They were systematically plowing an empty hillside. His heart pounds in his chest. The color drains from his face as the sheer scale of the blunder crashes down on him. Every shell, every hour of bombardment, had been a complete waste. Worse, it had alerted the enemy, who were now dug in and waiting for the inevitable, and now unsupported infantry assault. There is no time for blame or recrimination. Rossi bursts from his tent, shouting for his subordinate officers. He gathers them around the map table, his usual calm demeanor replaced by a fiery urgency. He points, his finger jabbing at the map, explaining the catastrophic error. Some officers look skeptical, others defensive. To admit such a fundamental mistake would be career suicide. It would mean admitting that their entire plan was based on a lie. But Rossi's conviction is absolute. He isn't asking for opinions. He is issuing a command born of terrible certainty. "We have been firing on ghosts," he declares, his voice cutting through the tension. "Recalculate every target. Now, every gun, every battery." The message ripples out with lightning speed. A new kind of energy, one of desperate correction, galvanizes the troops. Soldiers who were moments ago preparing for a suicidal charge are now scrambling to reorient their cannons. NCOs shout new coordinates, their voices hoarse with urgency. There's a flurry of controlled chaos as gun crews work feverishly, adjusting the elevation and traverse of their massive weapons. They know their brothers in the infantry are depending on them, their lives hanging on these new calculations. There's no room for doubt. Only for swift, decisive action. The fate of the entire battle rests on their ability to correct this single, monumental error. Then, the order comes again: fire. This time, the artillery barrage has a different feel. It is no longer a blind, thunderous pounding, but a precise, surgical application of force. Through binoculars, observers can see the shells landing with devastating accuracy. Enemy machine gun nests disappear in blossoms of fire and earth. Barbed wire entanglements are torn apart. The fortified bunkers that had seemed so impregnable just an hour ago are systematically dismantled. The Allied return fire falters, becomes disorganized, and then largely silent. The path for the infantry, previously a death trap, is now open. The subsequent assault, while still costly, the ridge is taken, the objective secured. The battle is won, not by overwhelming force, but by the courage to recognize a mistake and the speed to correct it. As the smoke clears and the dust settles, General Rossi stands on the newly captured ridge, looking out over the valley. The setting sun paints the sky in hues of orange and purple, a beautiful, somber backdrop to the devastation below. There is relief on his face, but no triumph. He sees the cost of the victory, the price paid in lives on both sides. He knows how close he came to disaster, how a small detail, a single number on a map, nearly led to the annihilation of his men. It's a humbling moment of reflection. He is not a hero in the grand, glorious sense of the word. He is simply a commander who did his duty. A man who understood that true leadership isn't about being infallible, but about having the integrity to fix your own mistakes, no matter how great. This story of General Rossi, while a dramatization, encapsulates a fundamental truth about warfare and leadership. It's a reminder that history often turns not on grand strategies, but on small details, on human error, and on the critical moments of realization that can snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. It's a testament to the idea that sometimes the bravest act on a battlefield isn't to charge forward, but to stop, to think, and to admit you were pointed in the wrong direction. Thank you for joining us on this journey into a forgotten corner of military history. If you found this story compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more tales of strategy, conflict, and the human element of war. We'll see you next time.